Alright, what is up everybody? Back today with another video on the channel, and today I have got an unboxing and quick review for you on a new to me manufacturer. So these knives are pretty popular out nowadays, and this is a Twosun, as you can see. Now these are made in Yangjing, China. I'm sure I pronounced that fabulously. And they've got, gosh, probably 100 models out, all sorts of models, everything you can think of, but they're generally under $100, but they use really nice materials, a lot of carbon fiber, a lot of titanium. They use 14C28N, a lot of D2, good budget knife stuff, and they make pretty decent knives. Now there's a couple models that stand out, this being one of them. So this is the ts195 Wave version, and pulled out in the box is two pieces there. Here is the knife. So this is a really good looking knife, as you can see, and I do actually really like this knife. So this is obviously my first knife by them, and this is actually a full integral knife. Now what that means is, other than, you can see here, you've got two scales with a back spacer, and there's two screws going through to hold those together. And that is how 99.99% of knives are made. This knife is one solid piece of titanium that is milled out. They mill the cavity out here. They mill the lock bar into it. And it is one piece. You see here, there's no back spacer, and it's all one piece. Makes it pretty hefty, feels very solid in the hand, but also very, very cool. Now, I said wave before, and you can see this wave pattern here. There is a model of this knife that comes with a, what some people call a frag pattern, but is actually technically a checkered pattern. As you can see on this frag knife, the edges around the squares are chamfered. So that makes it a true frag pattern. The normal frag pattern of this one is technically a checkered pattern because the edges are not chamfered. They're just kind of like a grid. You know, and that's all right, but this knife goes around for around $210 in this version, whereas the frag versions run upwards of $300 plus. So for me, another $100 for a checkered finish was not worth it. It may be to you. Now, if you can find a checkered finish one for around $200, you're in there. But overall, I think they've done really well here. So let's go over what you get. You get this nice Warncliffe / reverse Tonto style blade. This is in fact M390 blade still, as you can see here, and you've got your markings, your branding, and I think this is a mark of the designer of this knife. Now the handle is a full titanium, which is really nice, full integral titanium. Generally, to get a full integral knife, you're pushing $400 plus, such as the Max Ace Sandstorm, $400. The new Microtech Annex, made by Right Knife, $450. There's some other ones out there, but generally, you're in the 400 plus range. Now, with this knife, you get all the components of a $400 knife, and the fit and finish is very nice, to be honest with you. Now, I did have to put some Loctite on this pivot. Not a big deal though. There's quite a few knives I normally have to do that too. Now the action, guillotine down to the thumb, excuse me, but you do have to give it some good shakes to get it the rest of the way in. Now, I have seen people say that these Twosuns break in pretty well with some use. This one's pretty much brand new, and it has gotten better compared to when I first got it. with just a little bit of use. So I'm thinking that's going to improve over time there. So materials, I do believe we have titanium pivots here. You do have a titanium pocket clip milled out, which is very nice. Also a steel lock bar insert, and normally these lock bar inserts go on the inside, but where this is an integral knife, they put it on the outside there. Again, nothing wrong with that. Functions great. You get 2 screws for added stability. Hardware, you have a T8 pivot as well as a T8 pocket screw. These are indeed T6s though, but you're really never going to take those off. So T8, very nice. Deployment methods, you get a couple here. Obviously, you notice this fuller here, which is very good for reverse flicks. It's a little sharp, and that's kind of a common issue on these, a little sharp, but if you have kind of calloused hands like I do, it really bites in and lets you deploy it without much thought. You're not slipping off when you latch onto it there. You also get obviously a flipper tab with some jimping. Flipper tab is very snappy. Very nice, very nice. Pretty aggressive jimping. Again, works well for me though. Really snaps that knife out there. Now third, you can see the jimping and that sticking up there. You have a front flipper. So the front flipper is pretty snappy on this knife. You're able to grab on, and with this jimping, it really bites in to snap that blade out there. Again, this is a frame lock design. And the fit and finish here is actually very nice. For the money, overall, I'm very impressed with this knife. Twosun's doing good things. There's a couple other really popular models I might end up trying out. Sorry, I disassembled and oiled the pivot, getting the excess off here. But overall, for right now, I'm very impressed with this knife. For $200 for a full integral. It is pretty hefty, but that's all right with me because you get the cool factor there. And where it is a little heavier, where it's a full integral knife, that blade really snaps out there. Feels very solid. Now on disassembly, I did disassemble this knife. You take your pivot screw out here, and this whole collar slides out, and it holds your bearing race, and then it pushes your bearing up against the knife. Same thing on this side, holds the bearing race in there, and they come out. That also gives you a really cool pivot design, something kind of different. Now with this being the wave pattern, a lot of videos you can't see it very well, so I'm going to try to show you here. Still a very nice pattern, smooth on the back, and wave pattern over here. Again, it's actually very similar to Tactile Knife Co.'s milling pattern. Different, but similar. Just if you're wondering how it feels, it does give you a good feel in the hand and kind of breaks up the full titanium look here. Now on the blade itself, with this M390, it looks like a belt satin finish. If I had to guess, it doesn't say, I don't think, but you can see those grind lines there, and it's very shiny, but a very good look to it overall. The grind lines are nice and sharp, and you also get pretty similar satin flats, but just a little bit of contrast there. And obviously kind of like an unfinished bead blast there in the deployment fuller. Back to action. It does guillotine down to the thumb. Couple shakes to get it in. But if that breaks in a little bit, I'll be happy there. Overall, I gotta say, they make a fine knife for a full integral M390 titanium, $200. You're not going to find that anywhere else, and I've had a lot of knives, guys, and I've got a lot of nice knives. I've had a lot of nice knives. To me, this is a very solid knife, especially for the money. I would definitely recommend this. It's a little sharp up here, so you might have to knock that down with some sandpaper if it bothers you. I'm going to leave it alone because it kind of bites in to let me get a good deployment there. Feels nice and solid. Now, ergonomics here, you can see the shape. It's almost like the Spyderco Swayback. I have XL hands, XL glove, 2XL gloves sometimes. And you can see I can get 3 fingers here, and then the pinky is on the slant, but very comfortable grip. This is a full-size knife right around the 8-inch mark. You do have a 3-inch cutting edge because of the choil there. Full 4-finger grip, very solid. You can either put your thumb on the jimping here, or you can move all the way up to that little indent. Works even better. Now, choking up, you do get a pretty big finger choil there. I can grab onto that without too much worry up to the second knuckle. It's pretty close right there, but I don't feel anything sharp. And then you can really choke up on that indent with your thumb, and you could do some pretty stout push cuts if need be. Choking back, also very stout there. Now, let's see how sharp it is. Very. Zero complaints there. They made it look like a razor, and they made it cut like a razor. So very, very sharp, impressive. Okay, now one last thing here. This knife does not have a stop pin, as you can see, and the integral frame itself is actually what stops this blade. That stops the blade, and then on the reverse side down in there, my flashlight. I try. There's a little nub in there, and you can see the shiny spot right here on the blade. And that is actually where that nub hits. It's right there. That nub hits to act as a blade stop. Now, some people will say, oh, what if I sharpen it down to there? It's like, well, if you sharpen it down to there, I think you've got $200 worth of use out of this knife, to be honest with you. Where I've got quite a few knives, you know, I might carry this thing once a week, maybe. And I'm not a heavy user, so that's never going to be an issue for me. And especially with an M390 blade, you're going to have to use the crap out of this thing to even think about sharpening 1/8 of an inch down. I mean, if you sharpen down to almost that choil, I don't know what to tell you. So really, I wouldn't even consider that an issue. But yeah, overall, they've made a fantastic knife. I really do enjoy it. I think the integral is really cool. It's a very cool looking knife. Definitely get people's attention. Then you explain the integral thing. Pretty cool. Great ergos. Great user in hand so far. So they're doing everything right here. Makes me want to try another one. I've seen the Twosun TS380. You can pick that up about $100. It's a really cool looking knife. But yeah, so I'm gonna get some pocket time with this now that I've got the pivot Loctited, and I'm gonna get this out and do some work with it. I'm not afraid to get in and use it at that price point. And you know, with the M390 material, really good blade still. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to subscribe and like, and look for more videos coming. And check out those shorts. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.